There we go. We're off and running. So welcome to week 10. So we're really getting through it now. Week 10, we're back from the 2 week break. But I know a lot of you have been doing assessments and maybe catching up on things. I saw a few people catching up on some posts for this subject. Um, so, yes, and I just wanted to mention that next week will be a pre-recording. So there won't be a live workshop, but I'll make an announcement about that. And next week I know you've all got to submit assessment 3 this Sunday, right? Some people have, some people are working on it. And I'll let you ask a couple of questions about that in a moment. But just to let you know, next week in the pre-recording, I will talk about the final assessment, which is the essay assessment 4. So that should be pretty good timing. All right. Well, I know a couple of people have questions about assessment 3. So let's go. Who wants to go first to ask questions about assessment 3? Go ahead. Go, Grace. Yeah, you're welcome to.
So I have a few.
Yep.
I guess my problem is I'm having trouble formatting in my brain, but I've made up the NGO.
Yep. Fine.
How exactly do you want us to leave that in a footnote or kind of just go ahead with it?
Um, oh yeah, I guess that could be a good way to do it is like a footnote, or even if you just well even if after the title you just put in brackets, fictional, or that yeah, that would be fine. Yeah, and I'll know then. Yep.
Yeah, because in looking at the rubric, I get the impression that we have to, it's not objective, we're doing it as if we're part of that NGO.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's right. So yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Just put a footnote or put in brackets. Um, yeah, that it's a fictional NGO. That's great. No problem. I'll know then. Yeah, it'll be clear for me.
Yeah, and then in terms of the word breakdown for the background, stakeholders, smart objectives, activities, the SDGs, timeline, and budget, what would be the word breakdown for each of those?
Yeah, well, I don't think you don't want to have be too heavy with an introduction or conclusion, but and some of the things like the aims and objectives, the smart objectives, they're not you're probably only going to have 2 or 3 smart objectives. They don't, so that's not going to be a lot of words. Probably your activities, your strategies and activities will have a bit more, I think, more words. Your around your whatever your capacity development strategies are, that'll have more words. Um, yeah, but aims, objectives, not shouldn't be too long. Does that answer your question? What else did you ask then? The aims, objectives,
Yeah,
because it's
just the breakdown
the
kind of the
breakdown.
words,
Yep.
because when listing it, I'm listing out, I had for the background where I talked about the issue because it's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
a
yeah.
relevant issue.
Yeah, you need a
I
few
had
words there.
I had 200 words
Yeah,
just
yeah.
because it's like a very recent, like this month relevant issue.
Yep, yep.
Um,
Well, that
but
makes
then
sense.
when I'm doing stakeholders, I don't know whether I should just be explaining them or explaining why they're important. So I've done the lead part and I've explained the fake NGO a bit. And then I've
Yep.
done the target population, and I don't know whether I should explain why they're part of the target population or just list them.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's okay to explain a little bit because that's yeah, I think that would be good. I know it's not a lot of words, but if you go over 100 or 200, it's fine. So yeah, I'd rather see you, yeah, because then I can see that you've really thought about it and how it all connects. So yeah, if you can do it with just a couple more sentences, I would, yeah, happy to see that, definitely.
Yeah. And then in terms of how much leeway we have to make up stuff. So uh I've listed the local partner is the hospital. and I've actually gone and found the name of the hospital in the area, but how much can we make up?
Yeah, well, if it's starting to be, like makeup, you probably don't need too much more. Just say that one of the key stakeholders will be the hospital, and I'd rather see you talk about and why it's going to be a
Yeah.
health sector, and which maybe that's linked to one of your capacity development strategies. Maybe you're going to do, or yeah, you don't that would be more relevant to link why they are a key stakeholder and how they link to your strategies
Yeah,
and your activities. Yep.
and then in terms of stakeholders, I can't really reference that.
No.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so just reference like where we can, right?
Yep. Fine. And that's actually real. Sometimes, you can picture when people write project proposals, they know they're going to need the local council or the local authority. They're going to need the local hospital. And sometimes um, they haven't made contact with them yet. So that's not uncommon, Grace. That sort of thing happens. Yeah. So fine. That should be fine. Yep.
All right, great. Thank you. I've got a ID. If I have problems, I'll just set up a phone call with you because I don't want to take up anyone else's time.
Yep, no problem. Yep, just hit me with an email and we can talk on the phone. But yeah, you sound like you're on the right track. Very much on the right track. All right, and Mevish, you had a question about
Yeah,
what was it?
I was just a bit confused with like linking it to the text. So Jim Ives text. So where do I link that in like monitoring and evaluation strategies? Is that where I need to link the text?
Sure, that could be one area, but you might want to link to the bottom-up approach. You might want to link to, the some of the theories he talked about, like
Yeah.
ecological theory or social justice theory,
So
or
I add that one as one of my
yeah,
links for the yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
integrity of process. Actually, I'm going to just bring up a slide in a moment that sort of summarizes all the different principles that we've looked at in the first 9 weeks, and a lot of them come from Jim Ive. So you could
Mm-hmm.
just you might integrate one of them into your project proposal, and you could reference Jim Ive in that way. Yeah. So many ways
Oh,
to
okay.
reference Jim Ive, I think. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. So Lavangi and Kristen are fine with this, aren't you? So we'll move ahead a little bit. Uh, so you're okay now, Grace and Mevish? Just email me, okay, Mevish, too. You're
Yeah,
welcome.
thank you so much. Okay. Thank you.
No worries. So yeah, just leading into what I was just talking with Mevish there, I think, we've talked about this a lot over the last 9 weeks, haven't we? How international development needs to be led by locals and and the differing contexts and communities that they come from. And we've read from Jim Ive about this with the bottom-up approach. Um, but so yeah, with this topic, the topic this week of globalization, I guess I was just would like to talk a little bit about, yeah, some of those principles that we've spoke about week after week. We've built up quite a list now of some principles around development work. Um, so yeah, I just thought, how about what do you think about some of the principles that we've spoke about, and do they, are they universal across communities? So can anybody think what would be some of the key principles that we've spoke about over the last 9 weeks? Yeah, they could be from Jim Ive. Probably a lot of them have come from our Jim Ive text, actually. Any quick, anything comes to mind? Key principles of working in international aid and development. I know you've just had a 2 week break, but what do you think? Let's see if you can come up with one each. Who wants to go first? Just any.
Decolonization.
Yeah, sure. Working through a decolonization lens. We've spoke about that quite a bit, haven't we? Yep. And how do you think that would manifest, Grace?
Well, my assignment actually has to do with at the start of October, Somalia rejected some of the articles in the Africa Charter for Human Rights and the Welfare of a Child because it goes against their religious beliefs. So they've basically said some of these charters are Western ideas. They're colonizer ideas. We're not going to have them.
Okay.
So a
Great. Yep.
decolonized approach might be to be very evidence-based. So not morals, but this practice is harmful and this is why. So acknowledge that the local population is smart enough to understand what the education is when they're given a chance, and not to come from a moralistic lens, but from a scientific lens.
Great. Oh, good example. And yeah, and I think even on a more basic level, it's just about knowing the community, isn't it? Knowing the history, knowing if it was colonized, knowing if it and then making sure that those things aren't repeated again, and that the community, yeah, and having trust in the community that it knows best. Excellent. Is anyone else, Lavani, Kristen, or Mevish? How about you? Can you think of a principle, one each? Who wants to go? That we've talked about over the last 9 weeks?
Social justice.
Social justice, yep. I think I mentioned that. We were just talking to Mevish before. Social justice theory, yeah,
Reducing inequalities.
yep. Reducing inequalities, access and equity, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, sure. And Mevish, can you think of something that's sort of a theme or a principle that we've keeps coming up over the last 9 weeks for you?
I'm
Any,
just a bit
that's all right.
because I
Just have
haven't gone on the Moodle, I haven't done the like for a couple of weeks I was just busy with my work
Yep,
prac assignments. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, um
That's all right.
I'm
Putting you on the
just a bit lost with that one. I do remember the ones which are already mentioned, but there was one, it's not just coming in my mind.
yeah, yep. Think. Anything? Mentioned a few already when we were talking, Mevish. Well, that's all right. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. You'll all flow back to you now, Mevish. You what? So I think I just sort of thought off the top of my head, I just thought,
This and the sustainability,
oh yeah,
there was,
sustainability.
yeah, um a bit of it I remember.
Yeah, it's something that we always have to think about. It is a key principle, sustainability. And we have that.
Yeah,
That's why we have the SDGs, the Sustainable Development
yeah,
Goals, and linking your
and like
project,
empowerment as well, like empowerment focused and empowering.
the community. Yep.
Yeah.
Empowering the community and capacity development. Definitely. Well done, Mevish. Yeah, I think those are a couple of absolute crackers that we've spoke about a lot. So yeah, you know, here we go. Just what Grace started with, that example Grace gave, valuing the experience of the community, sustainability, just what you mentioned then. Yeah, and it's ecological, but I think with Jim, when we read about Jim Ive and the way he writes about, it's not just about the environment, it's about sustainability of a project. So yeah, yeah, social justice. Kristen, you mentioned that. Human rights, there's so many projects around human rights, whether it's women, children, and other or ethnic groups, indigenous, yeah, indigenous perspective. So remember, we talked quite a bit about that. I think that's a key
Yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah. That one was the major one as well. One of the major
Yeah.
ones, indigenous perspectives. Yeah.
And of course, that comes into account if there's Indigenous peoples living in the project area. But even if there isn't, I think the Indigenous perspective is very useful to integrate because it sort of, it has a synergy with sustainability theory. And then, of course, the change from below, the grassroots approach, which we've talked about quite a few times. And one of my favourite ones I like to favourite weeks is when we talked about integrity of process. Do you remember that one? People remember that week? Talked about integrity of process. Yeah, I think that's a really good one, that you've got to stick to your process and the outcome will come. And so that's all about sticking with the community. And there, the empowerment, and participation and cooperation, the we rather than the I. So yeah, I think so. A lot of these came from Jim Ive. So these could be reference points that you might use, Mevish. That question you asked about your, and I think these are really
Yeah.
good. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah. I got it now. Thank you.
And I
Yeah.
think great. And I think these could be really good points, um, for your analysis in assessment 4. So because you can use all these key points that we've spoke about over the last 9-10 weeks now, and you might use these when you do your analysis for your essay in assessment 4. Is there anything else people would add to that list that they feel like we've talked a lot about, or does that look like does that cover? It's quite a lot, isn't it? Quite a lot of different principles that we've looked at, from Jim Ive. All right. Well, I'll just move. I wanted to talk next quickly about the forum discussions. Now, I know some people have already posted, and I think Grace said you've read some, and yeah, once again, there's some really good ones, and I won't spend too long on them because you can read them and you can participate on the Moodle. But yeah, this week with the topic of globalization and sustainability, for activity 3, these are the 3 questions that are proposed, and people have already posted. But yeah, does anyone want to make a quick comment about one of those questions? I think Lavanzi, you already posted. Did and Grace, you've only read, right? You have read some of them. But did anyone, what you posted or what you read, has anyone got any quick comment about one of those questions that they've read or posted? How about the first one? Even if you haven't looked yet, what do you think what would you say if someone asked you that?
I'd say it depends on where you are, because a year ago I would have said health is highly developed, and now with the removal of USA, the globalization of health has taken a massive backseat. So I'd say it definitely depends on what's going on where in the world.
Yeah, I think number 2 and 3 has really been impacted by the removal of US aid. That you could probably weave has there been resistance to globalization? Yeah, because probably since Donald Trump's taken power, it's a lot. He's moved away from the UN. He's moved away from international law, and he's shut down, money towards the. Yeah, so that could be part of that. Could you see how that could be part of answer to question 2, Grace? Yeah, and the impact is so great from USA being withdrawn. It probably would be part of the discussion of question 3 too, wouldn't it? I mean, I think we could chuck in the UN SDGs and stuff like that. They're very important. Um, and it might throw in some other major international NGOs, but just the US government could be part of, if you looked at who controls globalization. But yeah, I just see Lavanji put in the chat technology. Yeah, sure. technology. So, and culture. So do you mean that for question 1, Lavanji?
Yeah.
Yeah. So technology, yeah. I mean, the internet is everywhere around the world now, isn't it? It's globalized. And I think if you do the Jim Ive reading, you'll see one of the things that's most developed in the world, and it's probably linked to technology, is the movement of money. Movement of money. Have you ever sent money overseas? Anyone ever done that in the last year or two?
Yep.
And is it pretty easy to, was it easy,
Yes,
me?
it's easier now. Just an app, and then you just put the information in, and it goes through.
Yeah, I've sent money overseas, and it's almost instantaneously received from
Yes, that's
another
right.
person in their bank account.
Yeah.
Instantaneous. Some, not all the time, but sometimes. Like the movement of money is massive, and um, but culture. Do you mean like pop culture, Lavanji, or how do you mean with that?
Like cultural exchange. Like
Yep,
different cultures.
people learning about different cultures just what via the internet.
Now technology as one aspect, culture as a different aspect. Two
Yep.
different.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I guess, um, but I think what Jim Ive is talking about in the reading is what some things have developed really quickly. I think another thing is probably travel, like air travel has become, people move around the world so much. But unfortunately, when it comes to what would our subject, international aid and development, which is more along the lines of social development, it's probably fair to say it's nowhere near as developed as the movement of money and economic activities. It's a little bit slower, and I think you made some good comments, Lavanji. I won't push you. So yeah, have a look at what Lavanji's written. Have a look at some of the other students have written, and add your own thoughts. It's actually really, there's some really good comments in that activity. And the other one I just wanted to talk about quickly is activity 5, and a lot of people have made some posts about this, um, which is thinking about what are some of the key global issues. Um, so yeah, I don't know if who's posted in that. Um, oh, hi Charles, welcome.
Hi, how are you? Thanks.
Good, Charles, good. You've missed a little bit, but you can watch that on the recording, okay?
Definitely I'll do that. Thanks.
Oh, all right, no problem. So, yes, so there's a reading here that you can read and then you can post, and there's also been some really good posts in there. But having a look at those questions, any quick comments about those questions there? Is there a global issue for that you're really interested in? For example, let's just look at the first one, maybe.
Displacement.
Oh, yes, you posted that one, right, Navandi?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a huge one that we've looked at. We've spent a whole week on that. So displacement of people. Yep. Has anyone else come up with a particular area that they're interested over the last 9 weeks?
Women's rights.
So yeah, Grace, you've got an interest in that, haven't you? For sure. Yep. How about you, Kristen or Mevish or Charles? Particular issue, global issue that's of interest to you? Or that's caught your attention?
It's just the environmental sustainability and just women's rights and reproductive rights and things like that.
Great. Yeah. I think women's rights, and then I think reproductive is an old one, but it's still super important. Reproductive, and that's really probably more in the health realm, but health is still important. Health, water.
Because I studied massage, I think I always have an interest in the health topics as well. Yeah.
Yep. We still have big issues around reproductive health, child health, infant health. And then, of course, we went through the whole COVID thing, but we still have some big issue. There's still big issues around tuberculosis and HIV and AIDS as well. Yeah. So, and of course, climate change, right? Maybe that's what you're thinking of, Kristen, when you think of, environmental issues. Yeah. So I think if you have a look at that reading, yeah, it's chapter 3 of Cox and Poir, and you'll see in the reading that they break it down. They break each sort of social issue, global issue, into 4 dimensions. So you can have a look at that. It is a chapter, but yeah. Oh, we've gone through that already. So I think looking at the posts, I think one person picked poverty, just poverty as an issue that they wanted to, that was something that they stood out for them. So you can read about that. That's also in the Cox and Poir reading. And then children, I won't go through these in detail, but yeah, there's still, this is still an important global issue. Early marriage. Now, I think we spoke a little bit about that before. Did you end up going with the early marriage and the Roma people, Lavanji? Is that the one you end up going with?
No, I thought about it and then I did a follow-up on the presentation, but I kind of I used that project's name, but made my own one. It was easier.
Okay. Oh, no worries. Good. But early marriage is a big one, isn't it? It's still huge in the world, around different countries in Southeast Asia, Africa. And the impact, in a way, it's sort of related to women, isn't it? Grace, of course, So some of the
I have the statistic for Somalia from UNICEF
yes,
that those married before 18 have less skilled pregnancy care, so they get less reproductive care, and they leave school almost immediately after they get married. They
yeah.
also face much more domestic violence.
Wow. So that's health suffers, education suffers, and increase risk to violence. It's huge, isn't it? What the early marriage brings. And that was what country? Somalia?
Somalia, so
Yeah.
they rejected the 2 main charters they rejected from the African Union. Rights and welfare of a child was the definition of a child and protection against harmful practices. So they basically said that the second a girl starts puberty, she's an adult, she
Yep.
can get married.
Yeah, right.
And
Wow.
that's in October. That was at the start of October. So it's still such a serious problem that
Yep.
hasn't made a lot of progress in some places.
No, absolutely. And it's really dangerous for young girls, isn't it? And young women. And I mean, I think the same can be said with LGBTIQ, isn't it? It's like really risky, really dangerous for some people. They just can't be out in some communities and some nations. Um, so yeah, there's women. Women is huge, and early marriages, and then you've got all these other points here. FGM, we've spoke about that a little bit along over the last few weeks. Um, and there's different things that are a little bit more hidden unless you dig. Like, when women are not allowed when they're not able to own property, or when they can't get credit, or they can't inherit money, or, these are all things that we are really interesting ones too to look at, Grace. I know you probably thought about them before, but yeah, also can be a bit hidden to people that don't have knowledge about, the challenges for women in other countries. Of course, conflict, which underpins many things, poverty, and I mean, look what's happening now with Gaza. It sort of it looks like the war's over, but we're not quite sure. But it's going to move into a different phase now, isn't it, for all the international organizations, or the organizations in international aid and development. So we'll have to follow that in the next couple of weeks. And it'll be many, many years before we know the full extent. But yeah, conflict, massive. And then I think this is Kristen, you talked about, yeah, it's not just it's the environment, but sometimes the climate change is an eco degradation is how they talk about it in the reading. So I think that's sort of a bit what you were talking about, responding to natural disasters. Yeah. And then the final one is what you expressed interest in, Lavanji. Oh, what have you shared there, Grace?
It's a video that breaks down the effect of starvation, lack of aid in children. So it's quite distressing, but it's very interesting that like even if the conflict in Gaza is now over, which we hope it is, the damage is likely done for most of the population, because famine needs to be dealt with when it starts, not months and months in.
Yep. Okay. Oh, great. Thanks for sharing that. And then, yeah, I think the last one that Cox and Poir touch on, which is, you expressed interest in this too, Kristen. There it is, maternal and child mortality, reproductive health. Yeah. And we still have the good old, just clean water. All right. Well, there's just one other thing I wanted to do tonight is we've talked. Like you've heard, I know you all heard the term globalization, but have people heard of the word deglobalization? Is that a term people have heard before? Has anyone heard of this term deglobalization? No? No? Well, how about, so look, we've got a bit of time. This video is a little bit, not too long. I think it's about 6 minutes. So how about if you click on where it says Bing videos, it's a video, we could watch it and then we can come back and talk about it. So if you click on it, is it open for you?
Yes, it opens to, is it the whole video or a timestamp? Because it opens to a timestamp.
Oh, well, I think we can watch it all. We have enough time. Okay, Mivish, you can watch the video later.
I'll watch it. Thank you so much, Mark. Thanks for
Okay,
today. Thanks. Bye.
no worries. Yeah, let's watch the whole video, okay? Can you take it back to the beginning, Grace?
Yes, I can.
All right, let's do that. All right, I'll see you in about 6 minutes. How'd you go? Did you able to watch it all?
Yeah, that was very interesting.
Yes, I was only found it today, Grace. I was searching for something to that could sort of, yeah, I think it's a good thing for us to think about. It went pretty quickly, didn't it? But what struck you about it, Grace?
Just how I've lost my train of thought, but how the authoritarianism and isolationism tends to go hand in hand.
Yep, yep. How about other people? Something, did it give you a bit of an idea what deglobalization is now, and anything stuck out for you in that you'd like to comment on? Yeah? Anything, Kristen or Labanji or Charles? Oh, well, I could share just a few things and then we'll finish up. But I think right in the beginning there, it talks about, you know, Trumpism and Brexism. So there's been a lean towards, themes around the world, I guess, moving away from globalization. And I guess Trumpism and Brexism, as people know that about, that's England leaving the European Union, right? And the European Union is probably one of the um, areas, one of those super international areas that it mentions in the end that is still together, the European Union, and still operating somewhat lot like a collective. Um, but yeah, I think it talked a little bit about COVID, and it talked a little bit about how the World Health Organization and how they struggled. And I think there was a lot of countries that were uncooperative. And I think the thing about an organization like the World Health Organization, which is obviously trying to be a global organization and be, having a positive impact. The thing about the Health Organization is it wasn't just that countries were uncooperative; they just didn't have the funding. They just didn't have the funding to do, to be able to respond like they probably would have really wanted to COVID. I think there was one analysis I saw that Coca-Cola spends more money on advertising than in 1 year than the World Health Organization's budget for 1 year. So yeah, I think it does highlight some of the, you know, the that there is some pros and cons to globalization, and so maybe that it's a deglobalization is is a reaction to it. But yeah, obviously, it's pretty complex, isn't it? It's pretty complex, but it is pretty alarming when we see some of the um, movement away from human rights and a movement away from international law and international courts, which we've definitely seen with, I guess, Donald Trump. Yeah. Um, so yeah, anyway, well, I just really wanted to introduce that concept of deglobalization because this week's about globalization and sustainability. But yeah, I thought we needed to think about that. So yeah, I might share a bit more about deglobalization over the next few days. All right. Well, any quick questions or comments before I let you go?
We'll be able to talk about the assignment in week 12 though as well, won't we?
Yep, absolutely. So next week I'll make a pre-recording and uh yeah.
Does Australia have a deglobalization plan?
Well, I don't think so. I think it's a new term that's not hasn't really been discussed that much, Kristen. So yeah, I'll do a bit more research myself about it. But I would say we're certainly responding to, you know, deglobalization that's happened with Donald Trump and, the United Nations. Um,
It just
but
seems like what studying community development is really exciting, the deglobalization, because it seems like building communities and community development might be growing at this time. So yeah.
yeah, absolutely. In a way, it plays into Jim Ife's, that things should start on the local. So yeah, one of the pros of deglobalization is it bringing it back to community. But then we know that we need some issues are global, aren't they? So I mean, probably like with many things, there needs to be a balance. But how are we going to find that balance between globalized and deglobalizing? Yeah, not easy to do. But yeah, one of the interesting things that's more around probably globalization is I think Australia and our Prime Minister, they're putting up their hands to get onto the UN Security Council, which is quite a important. And that was interesting to see the current Australian government do that because it shows that they're a little bit committed to the UN and to, instruments and have a bit of trust in those instruments and want to be part of it. Um, so yeah, it's very dynamic at the moment, Kristen. I think, yeah, basically, good point.
Do you think
Um,
that we can get away from this like businesses ruling everything model? Like, do you think there's any hope, or we're just going to be like dealing with the consequences of this forever? Or
yeah, it's a hard question. Yes, I mean that's what globalization of, the massive corporations, and we have some so powerful ones, don't we? Especially in the technology sector, with Google and Apple. They're incredibly powerful, aren't they? So yeah, um, but yeah, like you said, we still communities still have their power too. Um, so I like to think, that we don't give up hope. We have to find that balance. And one of those balances will be an interesting battlefield. Is is it next month that they're going to bring in the laws, or they're going to try to bring in some of the laws around children in accessing the internet in Australia? Uh,
December.
December. So that's quite an interesting battleground, isn't it, with those big corporations and how community try to protect our children. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of little areas, big areas where it's going to be played out. Um, yeah. So yeah, a bit hard to answer that question for you, Kristen, but I tried. All right, well, I'll let you go.
to
And
be an answer?
sorry.
There doesn't seem to be an answer. Just
Oh,
like I'm a Christian, I just pray.
yeah.
Not really.
Well, yeah. Well, that's probably something that's important. Have faith and have spirituality, because yeah, it is daunting, some of these issues. And yeah, I noticed someone who posted about a, a global issue. I think it was Matthew, and his thing was, just the increasing difference of wealth. And that's linked to what you're talking about too, Kristen. These big companies, and these big companies, we saw over COVID, corporations, they got richer. Um, so the concentration of wealth is just incredible now. But yeah, we're big issues just to for us to discuss. So hopefully through this subject, you've got a few tools to analyze it and understand it. I think that's what we've got to do first, Kristen, and then ideas will flow from that. So don't be too down and frustrated. Just think what you know and what you've learnt, and how, that's really important. We have to understand and then we can raise awareness, and then once we raise awareness, we can move into doing, actions and become, so maybe, you're in that phase where your knowledge is increasing, you're becoming more aware yourself, and then you'll think about how you want to, how you want to contribute. Okay, so yeah, that's the way to go. We all do it in our own way. All right, well, I'll see you guys next week on the Moodle, and I'll make an announcement about next Thursday. There is an outside chance I can make it live. So if I make it live, Grace, we can just talk about it together, assessment free next week, okay?
Sounds
Um,
good.
so I'll try to make it live. It's just that I'm traveling on Wednesday, but I might be okay on Thursday. So yeah, I actually forgot Wednesday is the one that